The lobby of Harrington Enterprises buzzed with the morning rush, heels clicking, coffee machines humming, voices exchanging hurried greetings. Amidst the polished marble floors and towering glass walls stood Anna Reynolds, quietly mopping the floor in her janitor's uniform. Her movements were graceful, careful, dignified. Just then, the elevator doors slid open sharply, and out stormed Michael Harrington, CEO and chairman, surrounded by assistants holding phones and files. Michael, distracted by his phone call, didn't see Anna as he marched forward. Then suddenly, his polished shoes hit the freshly mopped tiles, causing him to slide awkwardly. Coffee spilled across his expensive suit jacket. The entire lobby froze instantly, the tension palpable. Michael snapped around angrily, his face turning crimson. His eyes locked furiously onto Anna. "What is wrong with you?" Michael roared, his voice echoing off the marble walls. "Are you completely incompetent? Do you have any idea who I am?" Anna calmly raised her eyes. "I'm terribly sorry, sir. I did put out the caution sign." Michael scoffed loudly, dismissing her explanation with disgust. "Sorry, that's all you have? People like you never learn responsibility. No wonder you're stuck cleaning floors. You're a disgrace. Security, remove this garbage from my lobby, now." Anna stood still, visibly shaken yet somehow maintaining an extraordinary composure, as security approached hesitantly. Her quiet dignity contrasted sharply with Michael's aggressive arrogance. Dozens of eyes watched, holding their breath, afraid to intervene. Michael turned, glaring directly into Anna's eyes, sneering sarcastically. "Maybe next time you'll remember your place." Anna, without flinching, checked her watch subtly and quietly responded, her voice surprisingly steady. "I'll see you very soon, Mr. Harrington." He paused, confused momentarily by her cryptic words, but quickly shrugged it off, marching confidently toward the exit. But what Michael Harrington didn't know, what nobody in that lobby knew yet, was that in exactly 5 minutes, his entire life would be turned upside down in the most dramatic and unexpected way possible. If you're feeling curious about what happens next, if you want to see justice served instantly, take a quick second to hit the like button and comment the number 9 below. Trust me, you won't regret it. Anna watched Michael leave, a faint, knowing smile forming on her lips. She had faced humiliation before, but this time things would be different, because this time she wasn't just a janitor. She was the judge about to preside over Michael Harrington's trial. Michael Harrington strode confidently through the grand courthouse entrance, his lawyers flanking him with practiced ease, their polished briefcases gleaming under the lights. Cameras flashed wildly from the gathered press, reporters shouting questions about allegations of massive corporate fraud, corruption, and employee mistreatment. Michael waved dismissively, offering an arrogant smirk to the cameras, a picture of confidence, as if untouchable by mere laws or morality. Inside a private waiting room, his chief lawyer, James Carter, adjusted his tie nervously, quietly reminding Michael, "Just stay calm, let me handle everything. We've prepared for this trial thoroughly. It's practically a formality." Michael laughed, clearly amused by his lawyer's caution. "James, relax. No judge in this city would dare to convict me. I'm Michael Harrington, for goodness sake. Everyone has their price." Meanwhile, in a private chamber, deep inside the courthouse, Anna Reynolds quietly slipped off her janitor's uniform, replacing it methodically with her black judicial robe. Her demeanor shifted subtly. Quiet strength and dignity radiated from her like an invisible aura. She glanced briefly into the mirror, her reflection calm yet resolute, recalling painful memories of times she'd been underestimated before, moments she'd silently endured insults, ridicule, and dismissals from people who thought they knew her worth at a glance. As she fastened the robe, memories flooded back vividly. Her earliest days as a young lawyer, constantly dismissed by her colleagues, mocked subtly for her background. She recalled one particular day, many years ago, when an influential attorney had humiliated her in court, whispering sharply, "You'll never belong here." But she had proved him wrong, quietly rising through ranks until becoming one of the most respected federal judges in America. Anna took a deep, steadying breath. Today wasn't about personal revenge. It was about justice, pure, swift, and undeniable justice. In the courtroom, anticipation grew tense. Journalists whispered frantically, spectators leaned forward anxiously, and Michael sat comfortably, smirking with unwavering arrogance. He leaned to his lawyer, mockingly murmuring, "Maybe after I win this case, I'll hire that janitor woman to clean my courtroom." Suddenly, the court clerk's clear voice echoed loudly, "All rise for the Honorable Judge Anna Reynolds." The heavy courtroom doors swung open firmly. Every eye turned immediately toward the judge's entry. Michael Harrington rose slowly, his bored expression turning to one of bewilderment, then disbelief, and finally utter shock. His breath caught sharply, face paling visibly, hands trembling uncontrollably. Standing at the judge's bench, composed and powerful, was the woman he had just publicly humiliated, the janitor whose dignity he'd crushed minutes ago, now staring back at him with a calm authority that silenced the room. Michael's lawyer nervously whispered, "Sir, is everything okay?" Michael could barely reply, voice shaky, eyes wide with panic. "It's her, the janitor. She's the judge." Anna Reynolds fixed Michael firmly in her gaze, her voice resonating clearly through the hushed courtroom, each word echoing sharply, "You may be seated." As Michael sank helplessly into his chair, a cold sweat breaking out across his forehead, the courtroom murmured with shock. He realized, far too late, the gravity of his terrible mistake. And in that moment, Michael Harrington knew his life of power and privilege had just collided catastrophically with a force far greater than his arrogance had ever imagined. The courtroom held its collective breath, every eye fixated on Judge Anna Reynolds as she calmly arranged papers on her desk. Michael Harrington sat rigidly, hands clenched tight, beads of sweat gathering visibly along his hairline. His earlier bravado had completely vanished, replaced by fear and disbelief. Judge Reynolds began speaking calmly, her voice measured yet commanding undeniable authority. "We're here today because the defendant, Michael Harrington, stands accused of extensive financial fraud, corruption, and repeated mistreatment of his employees, charges that undermine trust, dignity, and justice itself." As she spoke, her eyes briefly met Michael's, conveying neither anger nor personal bitterness, only quiet strength and unwavering commitment to justice. Yet beneath her composed exterior, Anna couldn't help but remember vividly the sting of Michael's earlier humiliation in the lobby, the way he had arrogantly mocked her. However, she knew justice wasn't about revenge, it was about accountability. The prosecution began presenting its case, revealing shocking, undeniable evidence of Harrington's wrongdoing, financial documents, eyewitness testimonies, leaked recordings of Michael openly instructing employees to cover up illegal activities. Each revelation further weakened Harrington's facade, visibly shaking him as whispers echoed across the courtroom. Then the prosecution called a surprise witness, Sophie Martinez, a former employee at Harrington Enterprises. Nervously, Sophie recounted tearfully how Michael had routinely humiliated workers, belittled staff, and ignored repeated complaints about abuse within his company. "He thought he was untouchable," Sophie said, voice trembling. "He said no one could ever stop him." The audience listened, anger rising visibly among those watching. Michael's expression twisted bitterly, anger bubbling inside him. Unable to contain himself, he suddenly jumped up, voice echoing harshly through the courtroom. "Lies. She's nothing but a disgruntled employee trying to ruin me. You can't trust a word she says." Instantly, Judge Reynolds slammed her gavel sharply, silencing him immediately. Her calm, powerful voice resonated. "Mr. Harrington, you will sit down and control yourself immediately. This court will not tolerate outbursts or disrespect toward witnesses." Michael sank back down, shaking uncontrollably, completely losing his earlier composure. The courtroom buzzed with shocked murmurs, spectators leaning forward eagerly, sensing justice unfolding before their eyes. The prosecution rested their case firmly, having built a mountain of evidence against Harrington. Anna then turned quietly toward Michael's defense team, giving them the floor. Harrington's lawyer rose hesitantly, visibly nervous. He attempted desperately to argue Harrington's innocence, but his voice lacked confidence, clearly shaken by the overwhelming evidence and Michael's earlier outburst. Throughout, Judge Reynolds remained composed, impartial, yet her presence loomed powerfully over the courtroom, clearly in control. Michael watched her anxiously, panic building steadily inside him. He finally realized there was no bribing or intimidating this woman, no escaping justice today. As both sides rested their cases, Judge Reynolds leaned forward deliberately, addressing Michael directly with unwavering clarity. "Mr. Harrington, before this court delivers its verdict, you have anything you'd like to say?" Michael struggled visibly, looking desperately around for sympathy, finding none. His voice faltered, weak and defeated. "Please, Your Honor, I didn't mean, if I had known who you were." Anna interrupted calmly yet firmly, delivering a line that chilled Harrington to his core. "Mr. Harrington, respect isn't earned by knowing someone's title. It's earned by recognizing their humanity. Perhaps that's a lesson you'll finally learn today." A wave of satisfaction spread through the courtroom, spectators nodding approvingly, deeply moved by her words. Harrington shrank into his seat, utterly devastated, fully aware his downfall had arrived. And as Judge Reynolds prepared to deliver her decisive judgment, everyone knew this trial wasn't just about punishing one arrogant CEO. It was a powerful statement against discrimination, arrogance, and abuse of power everywhere. A tense silence filled the courtroom, every person waiting anxiously for Judge Anna Reynolds' decisive judgment. Michael Harrington sat frozen, his once confident demeanor shattered completely. The arrogance that had once defined him was now replaced with visible fear. Desperation etched deeply into his face. Judge Reynolds took a deep breath, leaned forward deliberately, and began speaking clearly and decisively, her words echoing through the quiet room. After carefully reviewing the overwhelming evidence presented in this case, it's clear beyond any reasonable doubt that Mr. Harrington has repeatedly and willfully abused his position of power. Her eyes swept firmly across the room, landing directly upon Michael. "You, Mr. Harrington, have demonstrated blatant disregard not only for ethical business practices, but also for basic human dignity. Your belief that your power and wealth allowed you to treat others as inferior has caused immeasurable pain and suffering to innocent, hardworking people." As she spoke, Michael began shaking uncontrollably, panic fully consuming him. His lawyer tried to calm him quietly, but Michael was beyond consolation, anger and despair boiling over. Suddenly, losing all control, Michael stood again abruptly, shouting desperately, "Your Honor, you can't do this to me. Do you realize who I am? You're destroying my life over these people, who don't matter." Gasps filled the courtroom as spectators reacted with shock and anger. Cameras from reporters flashed repeatedly, capturing every humiliating second of Michael's public breakdown. Judge Reynolds, entirely unshaken by Michael's outburst, slammed her gavel sharply once more, silencing him immediately. "Mr. Harrington, your outburst perfectly illustrates the reason why you must face the consequences of your actions," she said sternly, authority ringing through her voice. "No one is above justice, not even you." Michael sank helplessly into his chair, his face pale, sweat dripping visibly down his forehead. He seemed to finally understand the gravity of his situation, realizing in horror how completely he'd destroyed himself publicly. Judge Reynolds, with unwavering calmness, continued, "It is therefore the judgment of this court that Michael Harrington be sentenced to serve the maximum allowable penalty under the law. Furthermore, you are ordered to immediately step down from all positions within Harrington Enterprises. All assets and properties acquired through illicit means are hereby frozen and shall be redistributed to affected employees and victims of your unethical practices." A wave of relief and satisfaction washed over the courtroom, people nodding with deep appreciation. Spectators stood spontaneously, clapping briefly before quickly quieting again at the judge's signal. Michael, utterly devastated and humiliated, covered his face with trembling hands. He had lost everything: his wealth, his status, his power, everything that had defined him. Tears began streaming uncontrollably down his face as reporters continued capturing the dramatic downfall of a man who had believed himself invincible. Judge Reynolds' voice softened slightly as she turned to address the courtroom, her tone carrying powerful sincerity. Let today's judgment serve as a clear message. True power isn't found in wealth or titles. It's found in humility, respect, and empathy for others. Everyone deserves dignity, no matter their appearance, occupation, or background. Michael sat in silence, crushed and speechless, as the profound weight of Judge Reynolds' words hung powerfully in the courtroom air. For the first time in his life, he felt genuinely insignificant, humiliated beyond anything he had imagined possible. Outside, news of the shocking trial spread quickly. Clips of Michael's emotional breakdown, his arrogant outburst, and Judge Reynolds' powerful sentencing quickly went viral across social media. People across America celebrated a rare moment of instant justice, inspired by the courage and integrity shown by Judge Anna Reynolds. But inside the courtroom, Anna simply closed the file in front of her quietly, her expression solemn yet satisfied. Justice had prevailed, but for her, the journey wasn't quite over yet. She knew her message today had reached many, but the story still had one final powerful lesson to deliver. As the courtroom gradually emptied, Michael Harrington remained motionless, shoulders slumped, utterly defeated and broken. Cameras continued flashing as reporters rushed to capture every detail of his humiliating downfall. He had entered the courthouse as a powerful CEO, invincible and arrogant. Now he sat alone, powerless, stripped completely of pride and privilege, forced finally to confront the bitter reality of his actions. Meanwhile, Judge Anna Reynolds quietly stepped down from her bench, the heavy courtroom doors opening before her. Her black robe flowed gently behind her as she exited, carrying with her a profound sense of fulfillment, not from vengeance, but from justice. As she walked down the hallway, court staff and bystanders paused respectfully, offering quiet nods of admiration, recognition in their eyes of the powerful example she had set today. In the courtroom lobby, Michael's attorney approached him hesitantly, speaking softly and nervously. "Michael, it's time to go. There's nothing more we can do now." Michael looked up slowly, his face pale and drained, his voice trembling weakly, barely audible. "How did I let it come to this? How did it all fall apart so fast?" Across the hall, Anna paused momentarily, overhearing his defeated words. She turned slowly, stepping back into the doorway of the now empty courtroom. Quietly but clearly, her voice gentle yet firm, she addressed Michael directly. "Mr. Harrington, your downfall didn't happen in one moment. It happened in every moment you chose to belittle others, every time you used your power to oppress instead of uplift. True strength never comes from humiliating others, it comes from lifting them up." Michael met her gaze briefly, utterly humbled, eyes wet with regret. For the first time in his life, he had no words, no arrogant comeback, only the devastating realization of the truth in her statement. Anna turned calmly and walked away, leaving Michael alone to face the consequences of his decisions. That evening, the news of Michael Harrington's spectacular downfall spread nationwide. Clips of Anna Reynolds' powerful ruling, her composed dignity, and Michael's dramatic emotional breakdown dominated television broadcasts, online news, and social media platforms. The story inspired millions, sparking intense discussions about justice, humility, and the importance of dignity and respect. Anna returned home that night, finally alone, reflecting deeply on the day's events. She gently removed her judicial robe, placed it carefully aside, and sat quietly near the window, her mind traveling back through her journey. She remembered vividly each painful humiliation she had silently endured on her path to becoming a judge. Each rejection, each mocking voice, each moment she had doubted herself. Yet now, reflecting on everything, she knew each struggle had led her to this defining moment. a moment where she could truly make a difference, teach a powerful lesson about dignity, justice, and respect. As she looked out thoughtfully into the night, Anna felt an extraordinary sense of peace and purpose. She knew her story today wasn't just about Michael Harrington, or even herself. It was about giving hope and strength to anyone who had ever felt belittled or invisible. It was a message to anyone who had ever doubted their own worth. You matter, your voice matters, and no one, no matter how powerful, can take your dignity unless you let them. Anna smiled softly to herself, feeling a deep, quiet triumph. Tomorrow life would return to normal, but tonight, she had given a voice to the voiceless and restored dignity to many who had lost hope. But her work wasn't done yet. The world was watching closely, inspired by her courage, waiting eagerly for her final inspiring message, one that would resonate for years to come. The next morning, Judge Anna Reynolds arrived early at the courthouse, stepping confidently through the same grand entrance where Michael Harrington had stood arrogantly just one day before. Now the atmosphere was transformed, no longer filled with tension, but infused with respect and admiration. Court clerks smiled warmly, nodding respectfully, and security guards stood a little taller, their eyes filled with gratitude and appreciation. As Anna entered her chambers, she noticed stacks of letters and messages piled high on her desk, heartfelt notes from people all across America deeply moved by her courageous stand for justice. There were messages from teachers, janitors, nurses, executives, students, all of them expressing their gratitude for the powerful example she'd set. Anna felt deeply humbled by the outpouring of support, realizing her actions had sparked something profound and meaningful within so many. Just then, Anna heard a gentle knock at her door. She turned around as Sophie Martinez, the former employee who had bravely testified against Harrington, entered the room nervously, eyes shining with gratitude. Sophie hesitated briefly, then spoke softly, her voice full of emotion. "Judge Reynolds, I just wanted to thank you personally. You've given us more than justice, you've given us hope and courage." Anna stepped forward, gently placing her hand reassuringly on Sophie's shoulder. She spoke warmly, sincerity filling every word. "Sophie, you showed incredible bravery yesterday. Never forget how powerful your voice can be. Your courage inspires others to stand up against injustice, no matter how intimidating it may seem." Sophie smiled, eyes welling with tears, clearly moved by Anna's genuine encouragement. She nodded gratefully, leaving the room inspired, feeling renewed strength and purpose. Later that morning, Judge Reynolds returned to the courtroom, now filled with reporters, community leaders, and everyday citizens eagerly awaiting her remarks. Anna stepped confidently to the podium, scanning the packed courtroom, aware this was her moment to deliver a message far more important than any single case. She spoke clearly and powerfully, her voice resonating deeply with compassion and strength. Yesterday's trial wasn't simply about one powerful man facing justice, it was a wake-up call about how easily power can corrupt when empathy and respect are forgotten. Each one of us, regardless of position, wealth, or influence, has the responsibility to treat everyone with dignity. She paused briefly, the courtroom silent, hanging on her every word, before continuing passionately. "Real heroes aren't those who wield power for their own gain. They're ordinary people who stand firm against injustice, who refuse to remain silent in the face of arrogance or oppression. True strength is never loud, never boastful, it's quiet yet unbreakable." Anna looked directly into the cameras, addressing millions watching across America. If you've ever felt powerless or invisible, know that your voice and your dignity matter. Never underestimate your power to make a difference, to change the world simply by standing up and speaking out. The courtroom erupted spontaneously into applause, emotional, heartfelt, genuine. Anna stepped back humbly, allowing the powerful moment to resonate deeply among those present. Across the nation, her words touched hearts profoundly, igniting conversations in homes, workplaces, and schools. People of all backgrounds felt inspired to challenge injustice, to act with empathy, and to treat one another with greater respect and kindness. Anna Reynolds had not only delivered justice to Michael Harrington, she had awakened a deeper awareness within society, inspiring countless others to reclaim their dignity, speak their truth, and rise courageously against prejudice and arrogance wherever they found it. But even now, as the applause slowly faded, Anna knew there was still one final piece to her story, one last powerful moment that would leave an indelible mark on every person watching, sealing forever the legacy of her courageous journey. As the applause gently faded into silence, Judge Anna Reynolds left the courtroom quietly, her heart deeply moved by the sincerity and passion she had witnessed. Outside, the city seemed brighter. The air felt lighter, as if justice itself had lifted a heavy weight from the community's shoulders. That evening, in the quiet comfort of her own home, Anna sat reflecting by the fireplace, holding one particular letter that had caught her attention. The handwritten note was simple yet powerful. It read, "Judge Reynolds, I watched your courage and dignity today, and it changed me. I've spent my life feeling small and overlooked. But your strength showed me something I had forgotten, that I am enough, just as I am. Thank you for reminding me that everyone deserves respect, no matter their job, their appearance, or their status. You've inspired me to stand taller, speak louder, and treat everyone around me with kindness. Today you've changed at least one life, mine." Anna gently folded the letter, deeply moved, a single tear of quiet joy sliding softly down her cheek. In this moment, she knew that every painful step of her journey had been worth it. Every humiliation endured, every obstacle overcome, every moment she'd quietly persevered had led her to this powerful realization. True heroism wasn't about power or praise. It was about inspiring others to discover the dignity and courage already inside them. She took a deep breath, feeling peaceful and profoundly grateful. Slowly, Anna rose, walking toward the window, looking thoughtfully out at the stars now glistening brilliantly across the night sky. With heartfelt sincerity, she spoke gently to everyone who might be listening, as though addressing them directly. Remember, strength is never measured by your title or your wealth. True power is measured by your kindness, your empathy, and your courage to treat every person you meet with genuine respect and compassion. Anna paused, the silence profound yet comforting, before continuing softly yet clearly, "You don't have to shout to be heard, you don't have to fight to be seen. Simply walk your path with dignity, speak your truth gently but fearlessly, and never allow anyone else's arrogance or prejudice to silence your worth." Her words hung warmly in the air, filled with a quiet, compelling strength. As Anna stepped away from the window, a calm smile forming on her lips, she felt the world around her had shifted gently but permanently. She knew countless people had watched and heard her message, and even now, across the country, her words were echoing in the hearts of millions, encouraging them to rise bravely, speak honestly, and live with newfound dignity and purpose. In this quiet victory, Anna Reynolds had not simply delivered justice in one courtroom, she had inspired a movement of compassion, respect, and genuine strength, forever changing the way people saw themselves and others. So tonight, as you hear these words, ask yourself honestly, will you choose to judge others by appearances, or will you see the dignity, worth, and potential in every human being you meet? The choice is yours. Choose wisely, and never forget how powerful kindness and respect truly are. If this story touched your heart, inspired you, or reminded you of something important, share it with someone you care about. Together, let's spread this powerful message far and wide.